Hello and welcome to Work Experience Discover, the EAST ASBL podcast. This time with a different host. My name is Kateřina Ešnerová. I am an alumni from EAST Czech Republic and also the current chairperson of the EAST General Conferences. And I am joined today by Kevin Feithinger from EAST Austria. So hi Kevin, how are you?
Hi, I'm nice. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you are very welcome. So Kevin, you are an active member of EAST Austria, but today we are actually going to talk about something slightly different. We are talking about your internship. So tell us, where did you go?
Yeah, so my IS internship brought me to Japan. I was there in summer 27, from July to the beginning of September. And I also seized the opportunity and stayed a bit longer and traveled around the country. Yeah, it was a really nice experience, and I'm really looking forward to talk a bit about the experience.
Yeah, it sounds that you are still very excited about the experience.
Yes,
So
I am. It's
yeah.
a really nice time, and I mean we will talk about it later. But it definitely changed the course of my life in some way.
Okay, yeah, we will definitely get to that. But let's start at the beginning. So why did you choose this particular internship in Japan?
Yeah, that's a really good question because yeah. So to get to know, I'm a computer scientist, so I don't really have to do some fancy experiences to get a really good working place, especially in Austria. But I joined this organization way earlier, and I really loved that idea. And what I really learned there was like, okay, getting some cultural experience. And I then decided quite early in my IST career I really also want to do an internship. And why I chose Japan was more or less, okay, I want to go somewhere I haven't been before. So I did an exchange semester in fall before, so in fall 2016 in England. So again, Europe. But I told myself, okay, next time when you go to the next internship, you go somewhere you haven't been before, and especially in an area where you probably would go anyway for vacation, but why not doing it with work? Combine it with work experience and have a really good time there, because I know that program as well as being a member. And that was basically the main motivation to pick internships when I applied, where to go. And then there was again the annual conference, which you already told, and they brought home some internships in Europe, obviously as computer scientist, but also this one offer in Japan. And I applied only for this one offer because I was really intrigued with this work description and everything. And yeah, luckily I got the job, and ISD Austria supported me then as an outgoing student, and I was there then in the July after.
Okay, so that sounds really good. Like you had this one option and you really managed to get there. That sounds great. So what did you have to do to be able to get there, to be able to get the internship?
Yeah, so it started like as I said, I decided, okay, next time I go to an internship, so I collected like all the basic material as you would do for a standard internship in Austria in my case. So like getting the CV up to date with the new experience from the exchange semester and everything. And then I uploaded it to the exchange platform, and notified my supervisor, the contact person in my local committee. Okay, I have now completed my material and I uploaded it, and please verify that I can apply. Because that's in Austria a two-step process. You first complete everything, and then you get verified by the IST community, so that they make sure that your material, like the like the CV and whatever you need, like transcript of records and that they're enrolled and everything, is correct and complete in the first sense. And then then they said, okay, yeah, now you can apply, and I applied then for this one internship, and luckily I got nominated for this offer. And back then I got another email to complete my application, like with also typical information like a motivational letter, why you want to do it. I also had to transfer some money as a deposit. But then that was basically it. Then I sent again an email, and they said, okay, now we forward it to Japan. And a couple of weeks later, I already got an email from my buddy, so the person who was helping me through all this process. And yeah, I got accepted, and I should prepare to book my flight.
Okay, that sounds really good, like a very smooth process. That sounds good. So, what was the job description? You mentioned that you wanted to go somewhere exotic, somewhere you have never been before. So, the motivation was the cultural aspect of it.
Yes.
But you also wanted to combine it with work. So, was it an interesting job for you?
Yes. One of the most important things for me was when I applied for a job with ISD or somewhere else as well, I always want to have work, an impression of work where I really have the feeling that I can learn something, because that's all about internships. You're not there for only a couple of weeks. You will not have this big impact there, what some people expect. So what I want to do, get somewhere else in a different country, obviously for cultural reasons, so be there alone and everything, but also to learn something new. And for me, that was a work description which was really intriguing because it was in research. So it was a job offer in a private research lab, and it would be the first time for me to be in a research lab and like see research applied in the real world. And that was one thing I found really interesting because it was something I haven't done before. I had internships with like programming or even network and so on, which I'm totally away from. But like research, that would be something new. So a total new work field and an exotic country where I've never been before sounds like a good opportunity to choose.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like this perfect combination. So, before you went, was there anything that you were maybe a little stressed about or a little scared about? Because, yes, you were going to a completely different country, doing something that you have never done before.
Yeah, obviously I was. I was nervous, especially before I aired with the airplane to Moscow and from there then to Tokyo. But the funny thing was, because I still took over. I don't want to sound it like another advertisement story, but it was really like that way. I had the comparison between how I prepared for the exchange semester and how I prepared for this internship, like within 6 months. And the difference was that I had to do something special. Yeah. So when I was in the exchange semester, there I had also a lot of support, how to do and to prepare and get everything done with the visa and so on, with the student visa and get enrolled and everything. But I had to do that everything on my own. So in the end, it was my responsibility to meet all the deadlines, to hand in everything so that I get my student visa, to get the workplace, the place to stay, so like my accommodation, everything. I had to do that for myself and to organize it, because otherwise I would not be able to study there. And with the ISD, and that was the thing what made me the most nervous. I had no control. I wasn't used to give all the control away in planning especially such a trip to Japan. So like so far away, we are talking about 9,000 kilometers or something. So, but then I just had to drop a message, an email, obviously to my colleague who was in contact with the country, and so I always got updates. So I was still knowing what's going on, but I hadn't to do it, and that was what stressed me out the most, because I still got the confirmations and everything, but I don't know how to explain it better. But it was like, yeah, but I haven't done it on my own. And okay, the only thing I really have to do is I booked my flight and was then ready at the airport to take off. And yeah, that was maybe the really big thing for me when I think back. But yeah, I got also one thing to mention. In like 2 months before, the buddy from Japan, like another ISD volunteer, contacted me, and sent me a lot of information. Like, okay, this will be your workplace. This will be your accommodation. This will be where you can buy groceries, where you get the electronic stuff, and so on and so on. So I was really well prepared, but it didn't feel that way, you know.
Uh-huh.
And that was the nice experience about it. Then the really benefit of IST, because the one thing I really knew, okay, it will work because I go there. I will be picked up at the train station in that case, brought to the accommodation, and the next day to work. And I didn't have to do something, but that was a different kind of experience, and I really, really liked it because I could also focus on my studies.
Okay, you sound like a very typical, I believe, EAST person who is used to working in EAST, because you're basically saying that what made you stressed is that you didn't have to do anything or almost anything, and you were taken care of by your EAST colleagues, and for once you didn't have to do all the work.
Yeah, I know.
That's fun.
That is the funny thing of this kind of experience. You know, you have to give away all the control, something you most of the time not really used to, especially when you are used to organize most of the stuff on your own. But you give away the control. That is something people really don't like most of the time. But in the end, you always get the updates. At least in my case, I got the updates. So I still got the updates, but okay, now the recess fix and the accommodation, I have to be there at, I can't remember, some time, so that I get the keys to everything. So I still knew what's going on, but for a person like I am, like someone who's like really try to control everything, and has a good plan what's going on in the future, is it was a different kind of experience, and I'm really grateful also for this part of the experience. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I also can imagine that for somebody who have maybe never traveled on their own or never stayed in a foreign country on their own, this must be like very reassuring that somebody takes care of you, and you know that there will be somebody waiting for you in Japan.
Yeah, that was really, really helpful. So what I really liked was I sent her the flight information, everything, and she then told me, okay, this is the train you have to take from that platform to go to this train station, and there I will wait at this exit and pick you up. So that was something like, okay, yes, I have to travel there, and yes, I will be there alone, and it will be a long flight. But and you will arrive exhausted. But what was really great about this experience was you knew all the time that, okay, there will be someone who will introduce you to everything. And I mean, it's a country where I didn't speak the language. One of the things I was also stressed about a little bit, because, okay, what's going on with the English skills and so on. But I knew I have a person who was at least capable of talking English, so I could relate, work, and send her all the time something to translate. So it was not only the support in the beginning, but throughout this experience. And that made it a really nice day, and I could focus on the work experience part and the traveling in between, obviously. Also.
Yeah, that sounds really good. So it seems that your first impression of Japan was very positive when you were still in Austria, like receiving all these materials and everything. So what was the actual first impression when you arrived in Japan? What was it like?
Yeah, one of the funniest stories I have to tell from my full stay, actually, because I arrived there and I was exhausted, obviously, because of the long flight. And then I arrived in this really overwhelming train station. It was really big, and I don't want to say it's like as you expect from Japan and Asia in general, but everything was blinking and a lot of people, obviously, because a big train station. So I was tired and it was really a lot, and I didn't find the exit, the right one at least. Yeah. So okay, then I was already stressed out because okay, I have a lot of luggage with me, and and where is the exit? And I didn't found it. And then I went to the information, and there I already found people who still were able to talk English, but not so good as expected. Okay, so they were not really able to follow my lead, what I wanted to ask them. But there was then someone else you could really see, okay, that would be a business person or something, like with a suit and like really a full tuxedo and everything. So like businessman, and he could really speak good English. And then he came over because he saw me and said, okay, you really seem to be stressed out. What's the problem? How can I help you? And I I have to say that was really a pleasant surprise, let's say, because in Austria you can have experience similar to that, but you will always have this stereotype of, okay, Japanese people are really friendly, really trying to help you out as much as possible, and that was the first moment I really experienced that the stereotype is more than just a stereotype. So they are really coming over, helped me, showed me the way out, and then I met my contact person, and from there on it was like going on smoothly. So that was really a nice first impression, I would say.
Yeah, that is a really nice first impression. It sounds like a happy ending at the very beginning of your
Yeah.
internship. That sounds really good. So, when we get to your work, the things that you were actually doing, can you maybe like briefly describe what your work day was like, and what maybe a little bit about what you did
Yeah,
as part of your internship?
yeah, sure. So in my work, as I said, I was in a research lab. So I was investigating and putting research into an IoT communication protocol called LoRaWAN. And the first meeting at work was, okay, what we expect from you, that you write something up after or during your internship here, so that we can base a paper, an academic paper or a technical report on it. But what we want to get to know this protocol and investigate the drawbacks and yeah, pitfalls and everything. So everything you would come up with. And that was basically it. So that was my onboarding. They still told me, okay, yeah, when you need help or any guidance, obviously they will help me. But that was basically the work description I had from ISD as well, but also from them. And everything else from these 8 weeks, I had to organize on my own. And that was really a really nice experience because that meant the first time that I did research on my own, in a sense that it's like research as you would imagine in university, or in my case a private one, a private research lab. And from the workday I was more or less free to arrange it everything as I wanted to. The only thing was that I had to be there somewhere between 10 and 10 a.m. in the morning and 3 p.m. But when I arrive and when I go, it's up to myself. And the funny thing is, there is another stereotype I was talked about before. It's like, okay, Japanese people work a lot. So I was expecting, okay, they will stay longer, probably, as I do, because we will be there early at 8, as I am right now as well. But leave like until 4 or 5-ish, something there, so that I can still travel to Tokyo and have some beers with other trainees there. And yeah, this stereotype was absolutely true. But the other thing was they were therefore they started way later. So it's like at 10 you could really see, okay, now the people are coming because they have to be there. So I was one of the first people in the company, but also one of the first people leaving the company. And once I was having a walk in the city I was, and then I saw across the street one of my supervisors leaving at 10 p.m. in the evening. That was the funnest. I thought, okay, so long day for him.
Okay, that sounds like a very, very long day. Okay, so you mentioned that after you finished work, you still had some free time. So what did you do in your free time? You mentioned also meeting other trainees. So what
Yes.
was that like?
Yeah, so we were put together into one Facebook group, not a WhatsApp group. That was not the thing back then so much, I think. But they had some big Facebook group with all the trainees from this summer, but also trainees which were already there, like in the summers before. And there we could really organize some trips. So one trip was one of the biggest trips or the best trips we did together was we went out for the a longer weekend because there's also some holiday in between and we didn't have to work. So we met on Friday in the morning and went to Kamakura. It's a small town close to Tokyo. And there's a lot of sites, but also one of the biggest things, and it's summer, there is also the Pacific Ocean close, so you can go for a little bit of swimming. And that was one of the nicest trips we did together. And we always stayed in contact and met in the city of Tokyo because most of the trainees were in Tokyo. And also the summer reception itself was good because the volunteers of ISC Japan always organized something. So on the weekends, especially, we have had trips to Yokohama or some other special place in Tokyo where you could go as a group a little bit cheaper and everything. So it was really a nice time because of course, you had the work experience part, but you always saw something from the country and the city you were, and and that was what I valued the most from people who live there. So you don't only see the typical tourist stuff, you also see parts of the in my case Tokyo, which you would not see if you were just there as a tourist, because there you have the tower and some shrines and so on, which you have to visit. I have them too, obviously, but we also saw some smaller ones, like in not so crowded areas, and then you could really see the culture, because the culture is really different to Austria, and you could really see in the smaller ones where not so many tourists are, okay, how they are really in the real life, so like in the day-to-day life, how they are interacting with each other and how they appreciate like the history and everything. And that was a really eye-opener and really a valuable experience for myself and all the other trainees in general.
Yeah, so what was the like some of the biggest differences between what you know from Austria or generally Europe and Japan?
Yeah, I mean the biggest one for me was the work. So like the way how they work and that they have, like, they are all working more or less on their own. They have, at least in my company, everyone in my group still had their own research topic. So they were discussing a little bit about what they are what's going on and what they are doing, and how they can improve some parts. But the funny thing was for me that it's not like I have here now in Linz, uh, the typical group meetings like with Surefix and so on. That doesn't happen that much. I mean, they had that too, especially when there were multiple people working together. But it was like a different type of working. It's like hard to describe. It's like you have to experience it more or less. um, yeah, but that they stood so long compared to myself, and was also one of the biggest changes. And from cultural point of view, what was a little bit of a surprise for me was that the English level was not so good, but they always wanted to help. So that was even though they were not able to communicate that well with me when I wanted to ask something or they want to order something, they were always willing to help, and they had some patience, a lot of patience, I have to say, because when I had troubles to explain something and then doing something with Google Translate or looking for an image, for instance. I don't know, because I was looking for a special site and I didn't found it. And I was looking the name up so that I found the image. And the person I asked was standing in front of me and smiling and without the problem and not like, yeah, to come on and on. It's like that what you would expect, like when you take some time to get everything together, but not with this culture or this people, at least the people I talk to. They were like, yeah, take your time, so more or less, take your time. You know, it's different and so on, and yeah, we will work that out, and that was really nice.
Yeah, that sounds great. And actually, when you mentioned like the English skills, but at the same time also how friendly and willing to help Japanese people are actually remembered one funny story from Japan. We were there with AIST friends after an AIST annual conference, and at the end of a dinner, one of us said that we want to get a bill, and the waitress asked whether it is for everybody, and we were like, yeah, for everybody, like meaning everybody will be, like we will be paying for everybody together. And then when she returned, she brought beer for everybody. So we were like, what's going on? And then there was this moment when all of us and the waitress also was like, they mentioned they meant bill, and we were like, she heard beer. Yeah, so but yeah, if you bring Czech people a lot of beer, yeah, we didn't really get angry with her. So yeah, but that reminded me of the story. Yeah. So what was for you the best thing about Japan? Like what did you like the most? I think it must be probably difficult to choose, but you can
Yeah.
mention a few things.
What was the best thing about Japan? I mean, I was interested about this culture and then this country like way before already. So when I was younger, there was this one television on air channel who did all these animes like all the time, like from 1 p.m. until like 6 p.m. in the afternoon. And I was watching them as well, obviously, as a lot of people did. And since then, I was always curious about Japan. And so one of the reasons why I was really happy that I got this internship, but that's a different story. What I really liked about it, they really liked the culture. So it's like they really value their history and their how. I mean, everything in Tokyo is modern, obviously, but you always see these small little things where you really see, okay, this is something they want to preserve from history, like a small temple or a special park. I mean, we have that in Austria as well with all the churches and everything. We are also looking for that, so not, but you always sense some kind of pride, especially when you were visiting one of these areas. You were, yeah, they expected you to be quiet and to be like really humble in front of this areas and the temple and everything, and you could really feel how proud they are about the history and the and the culture in general. And from going out with all the other trainees, one thing I always comes to mind are some certain bars and party areas we went and had a really nice time there. And that was is experience part which I really like to think about. And that's one of the two things, like, okay, going out and having a lot of fun, also with people from there, which try to join and try to talk with us, and that experience in general you have with this country and the people there, that they are so friendly, helping all the time, and yeah, the culture is really great. I will be back there sometime. That's for sure.
Yeah. Do you plan to return there?
Yeah, at least for vacation. Still something which I haven't experienced, obviously, because I was there in summer. Is the time in April in Kyoto and Osaka and so on, the cherry blossoms. So that is one thing I definitely want to see. The downside is a little bit, because that's a really tough time for tourists and everything. The flights will be more expensive than in all over the sun. time because especially of this time of the year. But maybe I can combine it with my current work at some time.
Okay, that sounds like a very good plan. So hopefully you manage to do that and you manage to return there.
Yeah.
So if we get again back to your internship, maybe more of the work part, what has it taught you? What did you take away from your internship?
Yeah. I mean, we teased that, or at least people who listening will already heard it from me. What it told me and what I learned was that I want to do whatever I was doing there. So, like with the actual research, I want to do for my living in the future. So as a lot of people, I had experience with other workplaces and programming and everything, but that was always a work which I was not really sure if I really want to do it like for the rest of my life. And in Japan, with studying this program and getting research and thinking about these problems and how to solve them and so on, was something I was really curious about, and which I really had the feeling, even after 2 months, okay, this is some kind of work I could really experience and think of myself doing also in the future. And so, yeah, now I'm flash forward. I'm currently in Linz doing my PhD in computer science because of that experience. Also, worth to mention, I applied beforehand already for a workplace in a research lab at JQ, at my university. But back then, the idea was to get a master thesis and to graduate fast, and then get to business and work and earn good money at the end of the day. But that switched during this internship. From this in this internship, I realized, as I said, that I really like this kind of work. So I switched the attitude I went to this job to get to know, okay, now you have a sample size of 2 months. Okay, you really like that internship, probably also because of the experience with the culture and everything. So try to go back and find out if you really like it that much. And I did that. And a year later, when I graduated, I extended that stay for another year. And now I started my PhD. So it's fair to say that this internship and experience changed the direction of my career in a positive way, I would assume.
Okay, that really sounds like a very, very big change. Like it all started by you saying, I want to go somewhere exotic and also do some work experience there. And suddenly it completely changed the way you think about your career.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool. So what do you do now? And does it have much in common with what you did in Japan?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm doing now my PhD in computer science. I'm in my second year now, but the research area changed, so that I don't investigate the same areas I did in Japan. Still thinking about it a little bit, so that never changed. But that's, I think, part of the job. But my area changed to a different kind of research in a special field of so-called software product lines. I don't want to go there into detail. If someone wants to know that, you can Google that. But I do basically what I did in Japan now for my living. So more or less.
Yeah, and it sounds
I'm still studying to do it then for my living.
yeah, sure, but it sounds that you are definitely excited about it.
Yes, definitely. I mean, we currently writing several papers in parallel, and it's a lot of stress. It's exhausting at some point because you really want to get everything perfect. It suits my personality because I really someone who, when I do something, I want to do it right and I want to do it as good as possible. So that's kind of what suits my personality in this job. But yeah, as I said, it's sometimes exhausting and you'll do a lot of work there. But the one thing, and that's the really big thing, since I had already this a lot of experience, with Japan, thinking the first time, okay, doing a PhD, then this 2 years in this research lab, and now 1.5 years in with my PhD, I never look back and said, okay, that was the wrong decision. I'm never looking back and say, okay, I should have done it differently. I would do it again because I really love what I'm doing right now. I really love working with the people, obviously. That I'm a people person with a lot of, so I like the people I work with. But yeah, the type of work I do was taught by this internship to myself, and I'm really, really looking forward to what's going on in the future then.
Yeah, that really sounds wonderful, and I think that's actually what AI Stay is all about, that it definitely can change your life, even if you are just a trainee or if you start working there at some position.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it
I mean,
changes your life.
I'm still a member, as mentioned. So obviously, I'm a little bit biased towards okay being a volunteer and everything. But I can really say, okay, that was that was then the program part. It's like that was the part which really influenced my life because I was a student. I'm a student volunteer, so the end in ISD as a volunteer would have ended anyway at some point. Now a little bit later than because of the PhD, but it will end in sooner or later. But what the internship changed my perception of how I want to work and what I want to work. That will stick for longer, hopefully, and I expect for as long I will have this fire, which was started in Japan, and then afterwards with the work, I will do that. And if that changes sometime, okay, then I have to change. Then I have to change my career again. But so long in it and still with so much energy, I expect that it will be a little bit longer in that area.
Yeah, it sounds that you are really excited about it. So yeah, I believe that maybe if we talk in like 20 years, you will be still very excited and talking about your research, and you will
And I
be
will talk
so.
about Japan again,
And you
where I
will talk
started.
exactly. Yeah, you will talk about Japan again. That sounds great. Okay, so our last question, and I believe actually with your enthusiasm and everything you have been talking about, maybe you have in a way already answered it, but I will ask it anyway. So if you could talk to all the students on the planet and tell them why they should go on an INEASTA internship, what would you tell them?
That's a really good question, and I was thinking of it already some time. But one thing I really want to tell them, okay, it doesn't matter if you want to go abroad or something. It doesn't matter what you want to do, but what you have to do is go out of your comfort zone, as I did with going to Japan in a different country. Go out there, see what's there, and really find something you're really passionate about and what you really want to do, because it's way too important what you do in your daily life, and try out a lot of things and take every opportunity you can see to learn something and take as a chance to find that one thing you're really passionate about and then go all in on that.
That sounds great. I think this is a great advice. Thank you very much, Kevin. It's been
Thank
a
you very much.
pleasure, yeah, talking to you about Japan, and I believe that we could talk about Japan forever. Yeah, I
As you were
love.
there as well, I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I love Japan, even though I only was there for 5 days. But yeah, but anyway, thank you very much, Kevin, and
Thank you very
thanks
much.
to everybody who's been listening. This has been the Work Experience Discover AS to ASBL podcast. Thank you very much.